Hi, I'm Jimmy Christmas from a rock and roll outfit, the D4. We are arriving on the east coast of Australia pretty soon. I think around the 14th of February, 13th of February, to promote our final release of our Out of My Head record. I'm looking forward to tearing it up in Australia for the first time in 20 years.
Fantastic, brother. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
No worries. So, as you mentioned, the D4 are coming to Australia for the first time in 20 years, starting in Brisbane on February 13th, then hitting Sydney and Melbourne over consecutive nights. Like, how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling strong, powerful, excited, creative, adaptable, you know, reflective.
All
Lots of
those
things.
20 years is a long time, bro. So, what's happened with the band in that period since you were here last?
Out of the 20 years, most of it, not a lot. We took a hiatus and got onto a whole bunch of other things that was interesting us at the time. Went out of things in our different ways, and then reconvened around 2018 for some shows in New Zealand around an iconic venue called the King's Arms, which had been formative for us and was important that we were playing there as it was closing. It became turning into apartments like so many of our inner city venues do. Um, Kicked it off again in 2023. We've been up to Japan last year, and now we're on a New Zealand Australia tour 2025.
Beautiful. And how do you think you're going to go with the Aussie crowds, mate? Do you reckon they're going to remember who you are, or are you going to have to win them over all over again?
Well, I think the people that bought tickets presumably remember who we are. We did have a lot of time and a lot of good fun and a lot of good friends in Australia over that period. Um, and I don't think we're into winning anybody over anymore. You know, it's like come out and celebrate. I would say honestly, this is probably the first time in 20 years and probably the last time ever that we'll be back in Australia. So if you like what we do, if you've hung with us before, we'd love to see you. We want to come over. We want to celebrate. We've got no expectations. We just want to, kick it with some friends and we'll bring the best show that we can offer, which is going to be pretty fucking good.
Haha, fantastic. Now, what can fans expect from you? Like, there'll be a lot of people out there, like the parents will be saying to their kids, like, you got to come out and see these guys. They were great when I saw them. So, what can people expect?
Well, I think the expectation should be that you're going to get what you pay for, which is a kick-ass, high-energy, quality rock and roll show delivered by a very tight, very professional, very experienced group of individuals who value their influences, have valued what Australia has given to them, and want to return it in spades. So, that's what I think you're going to get.
Nice. Now, you've assembled some pretty good bands to play with as well. You've got Tape Off in Brisbane, Hard Ons in Sydney, and Mac Pelican in Melbourne. So, what's your history with each of those bands? I'm sure you played with them a bit before.
Tape Off, we've never met before, and we're very excited because we understand they're a very good band that are interested and want to be part of it. We have played Brisbane several times before, but that was a bit of a blur. There's something to do with Queensland. Um, I'm not sure. Hard Ons go, they don't need any introduction. They're like an absolute institution, one of the greatest rock and roll bands around. Mac Pelican, we were kicking around at the same time they were kicking around. Toshi and the boys, they fantastic young band. Well, a bit older now, right? From Melbourne. So reconnecting with those guys, and that keeps the Japanese connection pretty strong. Through Guitar Wolf, we went up to Japan, the Faithful, and there's been a long lineage of connection between Australia and New Zealand rock and roll scenes in Tokyo, Japan. Toshi from Mac Pelicans booking bands, bringing them down to Australia, New Zealand currently, and doing a fucking great job. So it's going to be awesome to see those guys. They're a great band.
Nice. And you're also celebrating the anniversary of the album Out of My Head. So, does that mean you're going to be playing it in full?
No, we're
Huh?
going to play some of the best tracks off Out of My Head. We're going to play some of the best tracks out of 620. We're going to play some tunes that we wrote around that time that didn't make the album for whatever reason. We wrote some tunes that were potentially for the third record, which haven't hasn't come to fruition. So there's some fresh stuff that we've never played live before and won't have been heard before for people that care about that. So that's going to be it's going to be an amalgam of the best things that we can offer.
Nice. But on that album, like you would have to revisit some of those songs to play on this tour. So have they stood the test of time, do you think, musically?
I think a lot of them have. I mean, looking at our back catalogue, if there's anything that we don't feel is currently relevant or something that we can stand behind from this point in time, then we won't play it. If it still feels vital and it still feels, you know, authentic, then we will.
Fair enough. And what are some of your memories of making that album, mate? It was in a completely different time 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was a really good time. We had an extended process making that. We did a lot of writing adventures, myself and Dion. We went up to Thailand for for a phase to write some songs. We needed to just get away from New Zealand and friends and family and influence. We went to the UK and we lived in squalor for a while in South London, and then recorded demos and stuff through that area before we moved to an idyllic countryside location to actually record the album itself, and laid it all live to tape and gave it our very best. So yeah, there's a lot of memory and effort and energy that went into that record. So it's nice to be able to revisit it. I think seeing it on vinyl, we had a lot of people clamoring for it to be on vinyl over the years, and there's just hadn't been a time when the sort of stars aligned. But now it seems to make a lot of sense. So I was pleased to pick up the records just today. So they're out there.
Very nice. Now, G4 started in the late 90s, mate, in New Zealand. So, what was the musical climate like back then that gave birth to the band, and where did you guys fit in?
I think that we were heavily influenced by uh, American psych from the 60s, heavily influenced by punk rock out of New York from the 70s, English punk rock. A lot of what was happening around us at the time. There's a lot of bands that were sort of DIY. There's a sort of collective called Frisbee that we were a part of, where there was some people thinking outside the box. And I think ultimately we wanted to be the antithesis of what was going on, say, in the general music scene. It was a pretty small place, you know. Mainstream radio wasn't where we wanted to fit. Mainstream bands wasn't what we wanted to do. So we wanted to carve our own path, but we were lucky to be sort of influenced by some strong colors and sounds. And then, you know, the same, there's stuff coming out of Australia that meant stuff to us: Birdman, Fun Things, Saints, Powder Monkeys, all of that sort of stuff. And then you take all of that influence and then you color it by the environment that you're in, and the challenges and stresses and the aspirations, I guess, that you have as that young band in that place, which is going to be different from anywhere else in the world, you know, purely by its location.
And you guys have been part of the music industry for over 25 years now. So, what sorts of things do you reckon you've learned about yourselves and about music over the journey?
Yeah, so there's a lot to encapsulate into
Isn't it?
what I learned in 25 years. Um, well, I think I'll just summarize, I guess, with one thing. I think that if anyone cares for any advice from someone who's, you know, made mistakes and made good choices and had experiences, I think ultimately it comes down to just be authentic and do what you want to do for you. And then if people want to come on board, fantastic. But don't be swayed by what other people think. Make music. Music is art, you know. Like, just do what you want to do.